Thank you, Mike. So we drew the short straw. We have the challenging after lunch session. This clicker is connected to an electric shock mechanism in your chair. So we've got our eyes out. So Regional Connections is the local settlement service provider in south central Manitoba in the Pembina Valley region. And I'd like to give you a little bit of context for the work that we're doing there with the local immigration partnership that will help inform some of the challenges and dynamics that Elaine will talk about. We're the only settlement service provider in the region, and we operate with a multi-site, one-stop shop service model. This means we have a full spectrum of settlement, employment, language, and community connection services operating out of 3 separate offices in the communities of Winkler, Morden, and Altona. And we also provide remote and itinerant services to other communities in the region. Regional Connections has a 30-year program history with well-established cross-sectoral partnerships throughout the region. Our board of directors, for example, has existed for many years as something of a local partnership council of its own, with representatives from municipal governments, school divisions, the Regional Health Authority, other service providers, and newcomers, representing the regional voices at the governance level of our organization. And for many years, it was Regional Connections that off the end of our desks, we're trying our best to do the work of building relationships with stakeholders and partnerships in the communities to create more welcoming communities for newcomers. But of course, it was always a challenge to both provide excellent direct services and also do this community work to the extent and at the level of excellence that was called for. So we were very excited when in 2016 we were able to put in a proposal for the Pembina Valley Local Immigration Partnership, which has now been operating since 2017. A little bit about immigration in our region, because I think it's an interesting story and in some ways a very recent story. So we live and work in Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And some of the first settlers to arrive in our region were Mennonite immigrants who came just over 100 years ago and built many of the towns and villages that exist today. And for nearly 100 years, these communities were fairly homogeneous and stable, growing slowly but steadily. And then in 1998, the province of Manitoba launched the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program, which included Winkler in that first year as one of its pilot sites. And 50 families arrived to the region from Germany that year. And over the following 20 plus years, communities in the Pembina Valley have grown and been impacted dramatically by immigration. Since that time, we've welcomed newcomers from 134 different countries who speak 35 different first languages. Winkler itself has doubled in size over the past 20 years from a community of 7,000 to 14,000. And between census periods, we've seen local municipal growth rates anywhere from the national average of 5% all the way up to 18%. As an example of the kind of growth we've seen, this fall Winkler just opened its 4th new school in the past 12 years. So that's a new school being built every 3 years in a town of just 14,000 people. So it's in this context of the history of Regional Connections and our partnerships and networks and immigration in the Pembina Valley that the Pembina Valley Local Immigration Partnership has been working, and I'll pass it over to Elaine to continue with that next chapter.
So if you need a little geography after lunch, and that was your favorite subject in school, this is a little bit of an area in which we are trying to work in. Our settlement map for settlement services is what you see outlined in the blue, and that's what our LIP area is covering as well. If you were to look up on Wikipedia the area of the Pembina Valley, it actually is quite broader than that. And so Pembina Valley has a variety of jurisdictions depending on which sector you're dealing with, whether it's health or tourism or other regional programs. As you can see from a lot of land and a lot of smaller communities, our main barrier, or very unique dynamic perhaps, is just the geographical distances between communities and to our main city, Winnipeg, which you can see kind of in the northwest. I'm not sure how big the letters are on there. Out of the 8 larger communities that are represented by the stars on the map, 6 of them are currently involved with our partnership council. The 2 that aren't on there yet is only because of time and resources that I haven't been able to dedicate to them to help with educating and engaging them directly. Within our region, we do have one newer situation, I suppose. One of our municipalities has grown or amalgamated together to help pool their resources, and it will be something that might come up through your news fields in the next little while. It's known as the RGPA, and it's 4 smaller communities that have now gone together. And they've also been a part of, have been awarded a new RNIP, so for acronyms, the Rural and Northern Immigration Project has also been awarded to that region, which is 3 of the little mini stars there in the bottom of the map. So out of the 13 municipalities that represent that geographical area, we have 7 represented on our council. The goal, of course, would be that all of them are at least educated and aware of what a LIP is all about and how it can benefit them as they make decisions and make improvements in their communities and related to settlement and integration. Only 2 of the centers that are municipalities on our map so far are cities, which aren't really cities when you come to Toronto. It's more like an apartment building of people. But at this point, it's just an emphasis that most of the communities are smaller in nature. And it's really a challenge to incorporate them together, but it's also a good thing because a smaller community sometimes is, it's easier to find who you need to talk to. And one way we can do that is, as we have the local municipalities who represent their own jurisdictions, what we found is that they have also developed a regional Pembina Valley Reeves and Mayors group. So once a year, they will all collectively get together and identify ways that other communities may be contributing to ventures that they can then participate in or benefit from. And the chair of that council is also on our council. So it's one way for us to educate the communities that aren't quite at on an engagement level, but at least through their colleagues at the municipal level, they're able to understand what is happening in the area. And this is kind of a model that we found this LIP to have now been identified as where we need to move. So although we're a regional LIP with council and immigrant tables and working groups, it's really important now to really hone in on some of the individual communities' specific needs and what they're going to be experiencing. So if you're familiar with the Morden Immigration Project, they're in our LIP mandate, as well as the new RNIP pilot project, which will be within our LIP area. So we're working now to establish 2 local immigrant tables, as well as 2 local councils, if you will, to address the needs specific to those communities, so that those municipal leaders have a little more connection to what we can help offer as a way of a LIP. It's going to ensure that the newcomer voices are better represented, and it will ensure municipal leaders and stakeholders are aware of the newcomer needs, as well as a place to express what challenges they may be experiencing as settlement and integration needs increase. You want to turn around and demonstrate this for me today? This is really, in a sense, it's kind of the pitch I bring when I try to engage stakeholders and municipal leaders, try to understand what their issues are, what their needs are, and identify how our program and what we're trying to achieve will benefit them in the long run. And some of the ways that we've done that is through opportunities to just be visible. It's a lot of communities to be visible in with me, myself, and I, but we try our best to connect to the communities and what's important to them. What are their issues? Attend their public events, support the chambers and what initiatives they're bringing to their communities. We also work to participate on interagency teams. So I have 5 right now they're very active and they are very engaging. They've been great opportunities for connecting, and it leads to other potential networking situations when I may talk to Sally, but she knows Sue, who's the person I really need to have engaged at my working group or in our council level. Volunteering to also participate at their groups with taking minutes for them or chairing meetings so that they can then see the value of the knowledge sharing that is important for their communities. And we're establishing those in Morden and Altona this fall. The other thing we have really tried to emphasize just through our website is the supporting nature of what a LIP can do for your community by offering resources and opportunities to engage in tools that will benefit them when they don't really know what to do or how to engage on integration or on the finer points of being a welcoming, inclusive community. We're hoping that by offering back to them, they'll participate with us on other levels. What seems to really work in our rural region is the more visibility you have and participation you represent, the more engagement you will receive. And it works the other way as well, so that simultaneously the communities I haven't really had a chance to build a relationship with, they're also not quite in the know yet. And so I look forward to that mandate getting completed in our next funding cycle. So as a result of reaching out and being visible and trying to engage in what's important to the leaders in our region, we were fortunate to have 44 stakeholders participate in our strategic planning session last year. And even though they're not all participants right now on an engagement level or hands-on, we do have 18 of those represented on the council and another 15 in working groups that are actively trying to implement our strategies. So it's kind of a small town mentality, it's a nice way when you can get together, they'll support you when you need them and they'll show up. And as I try to engage them on an annual basis and let them know what's been developing over the year, I think that also helps to benefit their overall awareness of what a LIP can do and how they will continue to look forward to participating and engaging with us as we move forward. Thank you.